Uh,
Huh?
Hi, Art. Welcome to Oppia's Google Summer of Code 2020 Lightning Talks. So, this is the annual presentation where our current year GSoC students talk about their projects. So, this year we have 12 students: Abhith, Krishna, Anshul, Hudda, James, Zhan, Mariana, Zangrossi, Mohamed, Medhat, Nishant, Mittal, Prayush, Dawda, Pulkit, Aggarwal, Rishabh, Rawat, Rohit, Katlaa, and Sarthak Aggarwal. So these 12 students have been working for the past 1.5 months on Google Summer of Code with us, and they have made quite a significant progress with their projects. And so they'll talk about what all they have done till now and what they'll be doing until the end of milestone 3. So milestone 3 would end at mid-August. So that's the premise. So we'll take questions from you from the viewers at the end. So this is the Slido link that's shown in the slide. There's also a QR code in the banner which you can scan for asking questions also. So the questions will be answered by the relevant students once the presentation ends. So till then you can ask questions, and once the presentation ends, the questions will be read out and will be directed to the correct student. So make sure to upvote each other's questions, because the most upvoted questions will be answered first, and then we'll go on like that. You can also leave messages in the YouTube chat, so that can also be that's also an option. So and now we are going to start with our first presenter, who is Abhith Krishna, and he's working on the project Generate Images for LaTeX Expressions with mentor Sandeep Dubey. Abhith?
So can I do I for the slides? Sorry. Yeah. So my project aims to introduce SVG rendering for all latex expressions and explorations. So currently we use Majax to render math-rich text components in all the HTML. So what it does is it takes the latex value and uses the third-party library Majax to render it on the fly. So that's kind of slow and can cause the pages to load slowly. This can be especially a problem in devices with slower internet speeds and low processing power like mobile, etc. So what we plan to do is we dynamically are going to generate SVGs for each equation created in the creator dashboard or any creator page, and we're going to save that in the backend. And when we display saved SVGs, so that's the main aim of the project. You can move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the current implementation of how we render images. As you can see, when the creator makes a new math expression, it gets directly, only the latex value gets stored in the data store, and we fetch the latex value and use Majax to display that while in an exploration. So this can cause some delay. So can you go to the next slide? What is the proposed can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So this is the proposed thing what we're going to implement. So what we do is when the creator makes a latex expression, the latex expression and an SVG associated with that latex will get stored in the backend. And when the latex equation is displayed in the exploration, we'll use that SVG saved in the backend for displaying the image instead of Majax doing the rendering. So that's what it does. It will be much faster than Majax. So that's going to improve the user experience much more. So that's the main project. Yeah, so progress so far is that we have migrated to the new schema for all the math expressions in the data store. So the new schema involves allowing storing a reference to the SVG file for the given latex value. So what it does is it has a file name field and it gets stored in the data store for retrieving the SVGs whenever we display that latex value. And yeah, the current thing which we're working on is for generating the SVGs for all the old explorations in the data store right now. So that's going on right now. So yeah. The final outcome of the project is that we'll completely remove Majax from the learner pages at least for displaying images. And we're going to use this images even in creator dashboard, but Majax is going to be dependency in the creator pages because we're going to use Majax to generate the SVGs and save it. But yeah, it will be removed as a dependency from learner pages, so the pages can load much faster. Majax also is a very big library, so just for reference, it's some 20 MB or something. And each time the page loads, Majax fetches 2 or 3 MBs just for the files, rendering files, the main rendering files. So we're gonna remove that completely. That's the final outcome. And yes, some things I want to talk. Do you have to share some interesting things which you faced till now in the project,
You can, yeah.
or will that be a later section?
No, there won't be a later
Yeah.
section, but
So
yeah.
one of the main. Okay, yeah, fine, fine. So till now, I mean, the major part of my work involved was migration of the old exploration. So I faced a lot of issues in migration. So for example, like we had one of till now we, like in the wiki page and etc. We didn't have anything to mention which says that we should audit the data store before migrating and stuff. So I did that before, like directly migrated everything, and it actually failed because there were a lot of invalid, not a lot, but yes, some invalid data in the data store. So we faced a lot of issues due to that. So after I had to actually run my migration job 3 times. So first time it failed because there were invalid data and we didn't detect it. We didn't know that it was causing a problem and thought that there was some problem with my code. Second time also we ran it. I fixed my code and ran it. It again failed, but yeah, this time we did suspect that after failing the second time, we got to know that there were some couple of, I don't know, 5 or 6 invalid data in the data store. So I had to run an audit job to fix that first, find this invalid data. Then admin Sean had to go to the exploration manually and remove those invalid tags. So like these kind of things are kind of unexpected, and we should actually now expect these things while running migrations. So that's one major thing I found. Like we should basically audit the data store for to verify that the data we're going to migrate is in good state. So that should be actually done as a prerequisite before any seed migration. That's what I wanted to share. And right now also, while generating SVGs for the images, I had to run an audit job to find out how many SVGs are there, like are they valid, some, and all these kind of things. Basically, we have to analyze all the data we're going to migrate before we do anything, so that to verify that they're valid and it's possible to do that safely. So that can save a lot of time. And yeah, that's one thing. This was something interesting about my project till now, but yeah, I'm still working on completing these things. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Abhith. Yeah, what you told is right. Audit before
Yeah.
migrate is something we are focusing on right now. So thank you. Okay, so next we are moving on to fix the linter and implement all lint checks project by Anshul Hudda, mentored by Nitish Bansal. Anshul.
Hello, mm, I'm Anshul Hudda and I'm from India. My project was to fix the linter and implement all the lint checks. Next slide, please. So, the aim of my project was to implement the linter in sublinters to run in parallel processing, because before we just had a single linter file for all the lint checks, and all the lint checks are present in that file and running sequentially. So my task was to split the linter in separate files by the file type, that is a separate file for Python, a separate module for CSS and HTML, same for JavaScript and TypeScript. So I split it all the lint checks separately in 4 or 5 different modules, and in each module we have 2 classes, one for custom lint checks and one for third-party lint checks. In the custom lint checks, we have the checks which are hand-coded by the developers, and in third-party we have checks. We have third-party libraries like PyLint, ESLint, and Stylint and HTMLint. Now we are running all these separate modules with the help of semaphore method, and this brings the running time of printer to like 30 minutes from 1 hour and 30 minutes. So yeah, that's it. And before we do not have any test for the lint checks, so we have no no way to no way to know if our checks are working, they are supposed to work, or if they are working, if they are not working correctly. So I have added the test for all the lint checks, and now we have the 100% test coverage for the linter. So, and the the output of the linter was was just split it all over the console, and we have the errors of lint errors all over the screen, and developer has to scroll all over the lint output to get the all errors. And also I am implementing new checks for Python, CSS, HTML. Next slide, please. Yeah, so progress so far now we have separate module for every class, and we have 100% test coverage as I told. Can I get the next slide, please? Yeah. So as I said, the lint output was scattered all over the console. As you see, there's a list after each check, and it is not very helpful for the developer to know where the error is, and it's very verbose. But now I have fixed it, mm, fixed it, and next slide, please. Now we have lint output like this. We have now all the errors at the end of the linter output, so developers do not have to find the errors in the very verbose output of the linter. So yeah, next slide, please. So the final outcome will be the linter will run in
Anshul, are you there? Okay, I think we can move on since he's done with the presentation. So yeah, his project was actually really useful and will be used by developers across the code base. So thanks for the project. And so we are moving on to making Oppiabot more useful by John James, and mentor is Ankita Saxena.
Hello, everybody. Um, my name is John James, and I was working on making Oppiabot more useful. So first, I would like to apologize. There is lots of background noise here because it's really heavy. It's raining really heavily here. So I'll try as much as I can to be more audible. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, so my project aims at improving the developer experience when creating issues and working with pull requests, and trying to make sure that pull requests move to completion and not getting stuck. Next slide, please. Yes, so far we have added lots of improvements to the issues workflow. Right now, only users who have signed the CLA can get assigned to issues, and we're also enforcing that good first issue labels can only be added to issues by members of the onboarding team. And also, there have been some cases whereby people add wrong labels to issues, and right now, Oppiabot checks and ensures that no wrong labels should be added to issues. Next slide. So this is a sample response of what Oppiabot will give you if you try adding a good first issue when you're not a member of the onboarding team. Next. So for PRs, we are now advising users to not create drafts and work in progress PRs because it tends to affect the CI queue, and we don't need long queues, right? Also, we don't need people creating PRs from branch that are develop branch or test branch or release branches. And also, when creating one-off jobs, Oppiabot reminds the user to fill the server jobs form and also adds the job to the registry. And we are preventing users from force pushing changes to a pull request. And a similar thing which we did for issues, we're also checking that appropriate labels are added to pull requests. So things like good first issue should not be added to a pull request. Next slide. Yeah, so this is a sample response of what Oppiabot would do when you add a new server job. Next slide. So at the end of my project, Oppiabot would try as much as it can to make sure that PRs don't get stuck. It would make sure that users get notified of CI test failures in time, and in general, try to make contributing to Oppia more fun. Thank you very much. That's my work.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the Oppiabot's features will be really useful for all the developers. So the next project is ensure that Oppia is fully accessible by Zhan and mentor is Sagami.
Hi. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the project goals are basically to improve the accessibility of Oppia, because not all people who use the web can navigate with a keyboard and mouse. Sometimes they can only do it through a screen reader or a keyboard. So I'll be leveraging Chrome Lighthouse to flag any errors, common accessibility errors, and then fix them for Oppia's web pages. And the project will also aim to integrate Lighthouse CI for automated testing to ensure that these accessibility fixes will stay in Oppia's web pages. The project will also aim to add a whole suite of keyboard shortcuts that will allow users to navigate and perform critical actions and navigate to critical pages. And it will also create a suite of manual tests to catch any accessibility issues that cannot be checked automatically by Lighthouse. Next slide, please. So the progress so far is I've set up Lighthouse CI, and it creates a script that runs Lighthouse checks on Oppia's web pages. And the script will assert against any web page that doesn't have a Lighthouse score for accessibility of 100. And I fixed all issues flagged by Lighthouse on approximately 50% of Oppia's web pages. And fixing these issues improved legibility, ARIA usage, and screen reader experience. Thank you. Oh, sorry. There's some output here as well. Currently, the script essentially collects from Oppia's web pages and their URLs, and it generates reports which can be accessed by the links. You can see open the report at https:/storage. And this is temporary storage where you can look at reports that give you information about the performance, accessibility, and best practices for Oppia's web pages. And that's what I have so far.
Hi guys, I'm Mariana, and I'm going to talk about front-end testing of controllers and directives in AngularJS. Next slide, please. So the goal of this project is to test the controllers and directives because before Google Summer of Code, we don't used to have examples of these files on the project. But also, it's not only about the increasing of the coverage of the controlling directives, but also bringing code improvements to make the code clear and more readable. And also, this project aims to create unit test write patterns just to help in the trick situations or when the code is very complex, like using timeouts. Next slide, please. So far, the greatest achievement in this project was to achieve 100% coverage of the controllers. We used to have inline controllers, and I'm going to talk about a bit after. And we used to have like controllers that was like a directive or a component. Next slide. So in the controllers, used to use a lot of on model components from the third-party library, but it was a very tricky to test them because it was defined inside the control, service or directive, as you can see in the first picture. So this was very tricky to test the controller itself or the service or directive. So the first task was to move all these controllers to a new file and test them to 100%. Also, a generic controller was created just to basic actions like close and dismiss the model. Next one, please. And also, you used to have controllers that were actually a directive, like this example. Before, it was named like a controller and it was defined like a directive. So I have fixed this issue. So now it's a component, both to help on the Angular migration, because it's I have removed some information like scope by controller. It's more clean now, and also because it helps on unit tests. Next one, please. So here is an example. Its directive is being changed to components as well, just because of the reasons I said before, just Angular migration and writing unit tests. Next one, please. So here is an example of changing directives to components can help in unit tests, because we use better approaches to test it instead of just creating, writing more code. Next one. So here, the progress we had, it's not only part of my project, but I think it's achievement of all students, because we increased more than 10% the total coverage percentage in Frontend. So I think it's great, like it's a great progress we had just in 1 month and a half. So yeah, I think it's a great achievement. Next one, please. And the final outcome, now I'm working on directives only. So in the final of Google Summer of Code, we will have some folders fully covered, like exploration editor page, which is the biggest front-end folder we had for now. And I'm going to work on smaller folders as well. I think front-end total coverage is going to be like 75%. Like, I think it's going to increase more than 5%. And I'm going to update the wiki page to inform how to test in the best way controllers, directives, and components in AngularJS. And tips will be provided to help you handle trick situations like timeout issues or timeout issues. No, sorry, time zone issues, timeout too, and so on. And that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. Hopefully this will help us better maintain the code base throughout. So that was Mariana. Next is support tablet interfaces for Oppia Android app by Mohamed, mentored by Rajat.
Okay. Welcome everyone. I'm Mohamed. I'm from Egypt. I'm working this summer on supporting tablet interfaces for Oppia Android app. Rajat is my mentor for this project. Next one, please. The project is divided into two main parts. The first one is implementing high fidelity UI for some screens, which you can see now in milestone 1, 2, and 3. And the second part is implementing screenshot testing for the application, and it is a part of milestone 3. Next one, please. The first milestone was completed successfully, which means that onboarding, profile user, home, and recently played screens are ready for the user. I'm still working on that milestone. You can see my progress there. The topic screens and the hint and solution screen are almost ready. They still need some work, but most of their work is done. The question player and exploration player are the most difficult task for me in this project. I've completed some of this task, but I still have a lot to do. I hope I can finish it before the second evaluation. And concerning the third milestone, I have completed some tasks there, but they are really small tasks. So I'm considering it as not started milestone. So the next one, please. Okay, here you will see now some screenshots of before and after. Okay, you can slideshow these screenshots till the final outcome. Okay, the final outcome of this project will supporting tablet layouts, which will act as a base work for all future tablet work. Screenshot testing will make the UI stronger against screen regressions and will make our code base robust. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mohamed, for that. So the next project is solving TypeScript and Webpack issues in the Codebase by Nishant, mentored by Rohit.
Okay, so hello everybody, I'm Nishant. My GSoC project is solving TypeScript and Webpack issues in the Codebase. Next slide, please. Okay, the first goal of the project is the type safety, in particular adding types for all the functions and classes in the TypeScript files. Doing so has many benefits, the most important one being the type errors can be prevented in runtime. This also allows developers to write cleaner code and improves the readability and reusability of the code. The second part is to add documentation on defining types and explaining how our Webpack config works. The third part is making the Webpack build faster. And the last part of the project is moving the script imports we have in the templates to Webpack. This will help to load the scripts only when they are needed. Next slide. Okay, so far we use some third-party libraries that don't have types with them. So custom types for them have been declared. Also, the any types have been removed from all the Angular migrated files, and soon a guide will be published on the Oppia wiki page about how to declare the types. Also, the types, although they'll be much effective when the code base is completely in Angular, but still they have helped to spot a lot of bugs which had less chances of being noticed otherwise. The other three parts of my project will be covered in the next milestone. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is an example on how TypeScript can be helpful to spot bugs. So there is a file learner action object factory. It had two properties, action type and action customization arcs, which are interdependent. That is, the action type. There are different schemas for action customization arcs for different action types. It is possible to assign wrong type of customization arcs for an action type when we use this service, but TypeScript can help prevent errors in that. You can see that there is an error in the first picture because the action type we have declared is incorrect corresponding to the customization arcs. But when we correct the action type, this the error goes away. And this is just an example. TypeScript can be like really helpful otherwise also. So next slide, please. So when the project will be completed, there would be types for all the files migrated to Angular, and there will be CI checks for ensuring that the conventions are also maintained in the future. There are there will be types for the third-party libraries we use and checks for that as well. Webpack build would be a lot faster. There will be a guide on defining types and explaining how our Webpack config works. And lastly, there is an third-party.js which we use to import third-party libraries. We will not be needing that after my GSoC project, as we'll be using to import the libraries only when they are needed using Webpack. So this will help to improve the speed as well. And yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nishant. Yeah, this will also help us in maintaining the code base for long term. So the next project is Revamping Math Interactions by Prayush, Dawda, mentored by me, Akshay.
Okay, thanks, Akshay. Hey guys, I am Prayush, and my project involves adding 3 new math interactions. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of you might already know that we have an interaction that allows math input. So why do we need new math interactions? Well, there are some problems that the current math interaction has, like it doesn't support equations. And this is mainly because it doesn't have a specific implementation to separately handle equations. So the new, I'll be adding an entirely new interaction that will specifically focus on equations. Other problem is there are no validations for the learner or creator's view. So when a learner or creator enters an equation, they don't get proper feedback on what mistake they're making, if they're making a mistake. So what will happen is the submit button will just get disabled and they won't get any feedback on what mistake they're making. Another problem is it only has one rule type. So this greatly this makes it less versatile, and this doesn't allow the creators to catch a lot of variety of inputs that the user gives, so that they can give proper feedback. And the new interactions that I'm adding will all have at least 4 to 5 rules in them, so that the interactions can be more versatile. And one more problem that the old interaction has is that there is no math editor in the creator's view. So the creator is expected to enter the expression or the equation in LaTeX format, which is not very feasible. Not every creator would be knowing how to input LaTeX. Yeah, so next slide, please. Okay, so far I've added an expression parser in the backend. This is mainly added so that we can verify that any input that gets stored in the backend is valid. So say something in the front end got in which is not valid, the backend should be able to catch it. And other than that, this will also help in any one-off jobs that run on the math interaction data. So they'll help validate the math interaction data in the future as well. I've also added two of the interactions, but currently I've only added basic rules. So currently these interactions only have 2 basic rules. So I'll be adding the other rules in the 3rd milestone. Another thing is I've audited the prod data. So as Abhith mentioned in his project, we need to audit the data before migrating it. And since I'm adding new interactions, I also plan on deprecating the old one. So we would have to migrate all the explorations that use the old interaction so that they can use the new ones. So for that, we need to make sure that any old data that is present is compatible with the new interactions so that we can safely migrate them. And also I've removed the old interaction from the creators UI, so that any new creators that create any new explorations, they will more likely use the new interactions that are present now, and they won't create any explorations with the old interaction. Next slide, please. Yeah, so On the left, as I mentioned, the math editor is added in the creators view. So on the left is the old interaction. As you can see, to enter something simple as a plus b whole squared, the creator would have to enter the LaTeX format, which is kind of complicated and not everyone would know the correct syntax. So this is just a little more user friendly, and this also helps avoid any errors that there might be there. Next slide, please. Okay, so currently I'm working on adding the numeric expression input, and I'm implementing the entire expression input with all 4 rule types. So it's basically done right now. I'm also working on upgrading the explorations. So the audit job was added in the last milestone, and we've audited the data that is present on production. And there were invalid inputs that were fixed, and now currently I'm working on upgrading the old explorations. Also, there is a problem of mobile compatibility. So in mobile, it is not very easy to add math interaction, like add math inputs. So like the keys are small and it's difficult to find some symbols. So I'll be adding an on-screen keyboard which will help even the younger learners to easily enter math equations or expressions. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just a mock of how the on-screen keyboard will look like. As you can see, it's much easier to input math expressions with this on-screen keyboard. Next slide, please. Okay, so as the final outcome, all 3 new interactions will be ready to use with all the rules, and the old interaction will be completely removed from the code base, so no code will be referencing the old interaction, and any explorations that were using the old interaction will now be using the appropriate new interaction. Also, a customizable OSK, as you saw in the previous slide, will be added. So the creator will also be able to mention what letters they want to show to the users, which will be helpful. So that will be also ready to use. And yeah, I hope to make the math experience of Oppia users more user friendly. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Prayush. Yeah, hopefully this does help creators make more math interactions. So next we have Android interactions by Pulkit Aggarwal, mentored by Ben.
Hey everyone, my name is Pulkit. I'm audible? Just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can hear.
Okay. So yeah, so I'll be working on adding different type of interaction into the Android platform. Along with that, I'll be adding one more type into the entire platform, that is the web and the Android both. So next slide, please. Yeah, so the aim of the project is to add 3 types of, like this is divided into 3 types. So the first will be adding a drag and drop interaction. If for those who don't know what is a drag and drop interaction, so drag and drop interaction is basically reordering the items according to their preference. Like it can be like fraction, like arrange the fractions in descending order or ascending order. So I have to integrate that into the Android platform. Along with that, we do have a image click input or image region selection interaction, which basically allow us to tap on a image, and if the creator has identified that region as a valid region, we would be provided with the answer, like it can be like valid region, it can be invalid region. Along with that, I would be adding a new type of interaction into the platform that will be a dedicated math interaction known as will be called as ratio input. So right now we do have the ratio interaction, but that is not like a dedicated ratio interaction. But with the ratio interaction, that would be like a dedicated ratio interaction, and we would be using like columns instead of comma or anything. Like they would be like specific, like there will be constraint for this thing, and it would be like more user friendly for the ratios. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about the challenges I faced till now. So I guess we do have a lot of time. We do have a time, so let me just ask some questions to everyone. Feel free to answer. Like it can be this is not specific to Android or anything. It's just some general things. So for those who don't know, so drag and drop action is like combination of 2 actions. So if you break it down, drag and drop into an action, it would be like hold the item, and then move the item. So like drag is like a long press sort of thing, not a short press. So and testing that thing was a bit difficult. Can anyone tell me like why it was a bit tricky? And especially I'm talking about the automated testing. Like in Android, we are using the for the entire platform. We do have a lot of tests. So like anyone would like to answer like why it can be a tricky thing.
Usually, you don't know the position of the item which you want to drag, right? So
No, that's a bit easy. Like the difficult thing was that like was to like perform that action into the UI. Yeah, since live. Yeah, so Rishabh is correct. So it was a human interaction. Like you cannot perform a, like because like long press was a bit like I would say that human interaction was not something you can automate. So because of that, I had to go a lot of things. Like this entire testing part took me about 3 weeks, and my entire work of the M1 took me only one week. So 3 weeks for the testing and 1 week for the actual work. So that was a bit tricky, and I had like there was no solution for this thing. I had to come up with something unusual. There was something like similar to this thing, but that was like part of the Google open source code. Yeah, that is almost 1 week. That was part of the Google open source code, but that code was never tested, was never sent to the production. So I had to like dig up a lot of things for this thing, and like I was finally able to get it working. So the next thing was to make the drag and drop accessible. So as I already said, that drag and drop is not something a human that is a human interaction. You cannot do automated thing. So when we talk about the talkback or the screen reader, the drag and drop interaction can be done. So any ideas how can we do that? Anyone have any idea like if we do if you want to do a drag and drop interaction, and how do we do that into the on a mobile on a web platform? I guess Jim has worked on the accessibility, so he might be able to answer this.
Yeah, that I was actually trying to figure that one out too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like how to make it done through the keyboard or human action.
Yeah, so I guess my solution would help you too. Okay. So the next thing was to make the image selection work in Android, because like in Android things get a bit complicated because we have to like care about the pixel density. We have to call take different layouts, see like different phones, different layouts. We have to work for everything. So that was a bit tricky, like implementing this thing. Although I'm not able to implement this thing. So next slide, please. Yeah. So for the okay. So for the accessibility part, what I did was like when the screen reader was enabled, I added some few buttons. As you can see, there's a move item up and item down button. So basically, screen reader will like speak out the buttons, and the interaction will be like moved up and down, and that will be like only available if the screen reader is like turned on. Otherwise, it won't be available. And the other thing is like grouping of items. So this is only applicable if the creators are allowed like to have two items at the same position. And the implementation that is being used on the web is not so I would say intuitive. Like the first time, like when I like tried it out, I guess Prayush was with me, and like we like that was something like we couldn't do in the first go. Like we didn't know how to actually do that in the first run. So we had to come up with something different for the Android, because like that interaction was not very intuitive into the web platform, and we thought like if we do the same on Android, like it would be like more difficult in Android. So for that we came up with something new design, and like this works as well for the accessibility. We get these icons, so we have to just press the icon on the end, that is like merge icon, that merge the two items. And if you want to unlink the items, you have to just click the unlink item, and that will unlink all the items. Okay, so that is the drag and drop sort interaction. The next interaction is next slide, please. Yeah, so the next slide is the image click input interaction. So yes, again, like this thing is really like a difficult if you want to make it accessible for all the users. Like, can you give me any ideas how should I make it accessible? Although the answer is no, the answer is not really. Jim, would you like to tell me get something for making this interaction accessible? Because this is something you cannot make accessible for most cases. Or anyone else would like to tell me this thing?
How about we talk about this later? I need to think about this. Yeah, I was still trying to the topic editor problem because they have a similar drag and drop issue. And
I was just trying to have some solution or on the go. Like you might have a solution on the go. Anyone else might have a solution for this thing. So I guess no one. So yeah. So for this thing, what we did, for first of all, screen reader only works if the view is only views laid out on the region. Like the view has to be present inside the region. Otherwise, that won't work. So these views are always laid out, but we just display differ the visual representation of the view. Okay. So the thing we did for the accessibility was to add a content description to all the regions that are selected. I would be adding that support to web as well. So I will be adding another type of field into the interaction that will allow the creator to add a content description while creating the interaction. And I guess it will solve the purpose of making this interaction accessible. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the final outcome would be in Android we would be having a lot more interactions. We do have we do have a set of interaction in Android. Do not have all the interaction in Android that supports on the web because that should make sense. There are some certain things you cannot do in Android. You cannot do in Android, but you can do in web. I guess I missed out one of the things. So okay, never mind. So. Yeah, so another thing is that the interaction will be more user friendly in Android platform. We use a different design for both the interactions so far, and I guess we would be making a different we would be creating a design that for the ratio, different design for the ratio as well. And by the M3, we would be having a ratio interaction on both the platforms. That is on the web and the Android. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Pulkit. I'm pretty sure this will help all the creators in Android to create better interactions and more intuitively. Okay, next we have adding SVG editor to the rich text editor by Rohit, Katlaa, mentored by Kevin.
Hey everyone, I'm Rohit Katlaa here to present my project about adding an SVG editor to the RTE. I thank my mentor Kevin Thomas for all his help. Next slide. So, as the saying goes, a picture can tell 1,000 words. Diagrams and figures aid in learning and understanding concepts better. Giving creators the ability to create diagrams would help them convey their concepts better. Of all the types of images, you can ask why SVGs. SVGs are highly scalable and editable. They are also compact and search engine friendly. Thus, we want to encourage users to use SVGs instead of bitmap images. Thus, an SVG diagram editor plays a good role in helping us move in this direction. Thus, the aim of the project is to introduce an SVG editor so that users can create custom diagrams for their explorations. Next slide. So, here is a video that shows the SVG editor. In this video, I have used all the current tools to create a custom diagram. The tools that are currently available in the editor are pencil tool, line, rectangle, ellipse, open polygon, closed polygon, text tool, and a Bezier quadratic curve. So these are the just basic tools which are there. But one of the greatest benefits of this particular SVG editor is that it's highly customizable, and many custom tools can be added. Yeah. Next slide. So here, as you saw, that was that was almost the final outcome of the project. It is the main goal is to create an SVG editor that is highly customizable, that can work seamlessly across multiple devices like touch devices, tab, and drawing pads, laptops, anything. An SVG editor that can be used to create ingenious diagrams that illustrate the core concepts of the lessons clearly. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rohit. I'm pretty sure this will also help creators make new images because, yeah, we didn't have a new SVG method for that yet. So, thanks. So, next we have the redesign for the editor pages by Rishabh, mentored by Zhan and Nitesh.
Hey guys, I'm Rishabh. I'm from India and my project is editor page redesigns. So across Oppia, we have a lot of editors like topic editor, skill editor, exploration editor, etc. And so Nitesh is my secondary mentor. My primary mentor is Sean Lip. My project is to like redesign the editors. So next slide, please. So my project is divided into these three parts. The first milestone has been completed successfully. Like I have redesigned the topics and skills dashboard, topic editor, and the skill editor. And as per the second milestone, I am almost done with the subtopic editor, and I'm currently working on the question editor. So next slide, please. Next slide. So I have included some screenshots of before and after. So this is how it used to look before. So it was just a basic design and just at the point that it's usable, nothing fancy and stuff. So this is the before one. Let's move on. So this is how it looks now. So I have added a lot of features and I have discussed them in the slides after that. So let's move on. So yeah, some features that I have added to the topics dashboard are I have added a pagination header, which shows us like what item numbers are we currently displaying, like 1 to 10 or 11 to 20, etc., depending on the total number of topics that we have. And I have added an option to change the items per page. So we can view like 10, 15 or 20. These are the only options that we support as of now. And I've added the pagination basically like 1, 2, 3, 4. We can either move one page forward or one page back using the arrows, or we can jump to any page by clicking on the numbers. Yeah, let's move on. And the changes that are made to the main content, that is the topics list, is now they show what classroom the topic is assigned to, because ultimately every topic is supposed to be assigned to a classroom. So as we can see in the screenshot, this sample topic is assigned to the maths classroom, and also now we show the topic description, which is like some random stuff here, topic description AASD. So yeah, next slide please. Some other features that have been added to the topic dashboard are now that it shows the entity counts, like we have 19 topics and 30 skills, and a create new topic button. And also I have added a filter box, which was like difficult to add since it is a lot of functionality, but now we can filter the topics according to the status, like whether they are assigned to a classroom or unassigned. We can filter the topics using classroom, which classroom they are assigned to, maths, English, algebra, etc. We can sort the topics based on their creation and updation time, like the newly created first or the oldest created first, etc. And we can like search through the topics using keywords. The keywords are basically topic name and topic description. Next slide. So this is how the skills dashboard used to look before, very similar to the topics dashboard. Next slide please. And this is how it looks now. So yeah, I have also added a lot of features here, which I have described in the slides after this. So let's move on. So yeah, the pagination part is common. I mean, it's very similar, but here we have like 1 to 10 of many, because we are not fetching all of the skills that are present, since skills can be a lot more than the topics. So it's not good to fetch all of them at once, and hence I show many. Also, I've added a entity count box like I showed in the previous slides. So, and what else? It shows which topic the skill is assigned to. So ultimately the topics are supposed to be assigned to classrooms and skills are assigned to the topics. So like as we can see, the new skill is unassigned and hence they show an invalid icon because a skill needs to be assigned to a topic. That's what skills are for currently. And the skill on the second row is assigned to a topic named test topic. So yeah, these are some improvements to the skill dashboard. Next slide, please. So yeah, earlier we only used to show the unused skills, but now all the skills have been shown. So I had to upgrade some functionality also. Now we can assign a skill from the topics that it has been assigned to using this modal. Like we can take all the topics that we want to unassign the skill from, and it will be unassigned. Next slide, please. So yeah, earlier if a skill was assigned to a topic and if it tried to delete that, it would in an error that you can't delete a skill that is already assigned to a topic. But now I have upgraded that functionality, and the modal will tell us which topics this skill is assigned to and are we sure that we want to delete it. So yeah, next slide, please. These are some of the changes that I've done to topics and skill dashboard. So the next part of my milestone one was topic editor. So how this is how it used to look before. Next slide, please. And this is how it looks now. So if you notice, the text that was on the green navbar is on the blue navbar. This blue navbar has been introduced newly, and I have upgraded the UI of the topic editor basically. Next slide, please. So yeah, the part is the blue navbar, and it's easier to navigate now since the icons are big and more accessible and usable. Next slide, please. Earlier the stories were not very beautiful to look at, but now I believe they are better than what is used to before. So I have also added this entity count box. So it shows us how many topics and skills and stories this topic has. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I have created a card in the topic editor itself. It shows us all the subtopics that are created in this topic and all the uncategorized skills. I mean the skills that are assigned to this topic but are not assigned to any subtopic. So this, so yeah, I have added this card also. Next slide, please. So now this is how we assign, this is how we assign skills to a subtopic. So all the skills card like dummy skill 1, addition, jumbo subtraction, they are draggable and droppable. So I can like drag any one of them and drop them over any subtopic card and it will be assigned to that subtopic. So next slide, please. And I also added a feature to the topic editor to preview the topic card, like how the topic card will look after it has been published. So yeah, this is a feature that have been added to the editors. Next slide, please. So this is the third part of my milestone one, skill editor. This is how it used to look before. Next slide, please. And this is how it looks now. So as I told you, every skill is supposed to be assigned to a topic. It can also be assigned to multiple topics, and hence if you look at the right box that says status, there's a drop down of topic and it shows all the topics that this skill has been assigned to, and the subtopic name also gets updated. Next slide, please. So the one of the main content of a skill is question. So I have introduced this new preview tab, and we can preview all the questions that we create of how they will look. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is the first part of my milestone 2, subtopic editor. So this is how it used to look before, very simple and just a modal. There was no like dedicated subtopic editor. Next slide, please. And this is how it looks now. So I have created a dedicated subtopic editor, and it also has an entity count box, like it tells us how many skills this subtopic has, how many questions this has, and a create new skill button here also. And the list that we see, skills list, it is also like draggable and droppable. So we can rearrange them. I can drag the dummy skill 3 and I can rearrange that. I've also added a preview tab. Next slide, please. So the preview tab tells us how the subtopic will look after it has been published. So this is a new feature that I have added to the subtopic editor also, the preview tab. Next slide, please. So features added to the subtopic editor, the blue navbar. It's common in all the editors that we are introducing a blue navbar to all of them. Entity count box, it is also common to all of the editors. Added a create skill button, made the skills list rearrangeable by dragging and dropping, and added the preview tab. Next slide, please. So the final outcome of my project will be all the editors that we have, the skill topics and skill dashboard, skill editor, topic editor, subtopic editor, question editor, story editor, chapter editor, and exploration editor. They will all be like prettier and more functional, and all the editors will be fully usable in mobile devices. So yeah, this concludes my presentation. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rishabh. Yeah, that's a lot of UI changes for the three new structures editors. So thanks for doing that. So next we have the analytics support, which is also an Android project by Sarthak Aggarwal, mentored by Vinitha.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Sarthak Aggarwal and I'm working on analytics support and I'm being mentored by Vinitha Murthy. Next slide please. Okay, so my project basically has three objectives. One is integration of Firebase Analytics to gain insights about the user journeys. Second is to integrate Firebase Crashlytics to receive actionable intelligence about the failures in different parts of our code. Third is the most interesting one, where I have to implement the offline support of both these functionalities. Offline support basically means that if a mobile device does not have network connectivity, still we get to know the event logs and the crash logs, and suppose we upload them when the network connectivity is regained. Next slide, please. So the progress so far is I've integrated Firebase Analytics and Crashlytics for the online users and not for the offline users as of now. Helpful analytical data like total screen time and user visited, topic skill or exploration IDs are uploaded every time a user visits it. And the fatal and the non-fatal crash reports get reported to the Firebase console. And that is, in the presence of the internet connection. For the offline support, currently we have implemented a cache store for analytics event logs. What happens is it checks the network connectivity before uploading it, and if there is no network connection, then it stores the event logs inside the cache store. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are two crash reports stats and event report stats. So for crash reporting, we can see that currently we are having 66.67% of crash free statistics. This is the dev project. This is not the production project. So the main utility of this Crashlytics dashboard is if we can segment all the issues we have in different issues. Like suppose in this picture, we can see we have an issue with the exploration retriever. And this particular issue has been faced by 7 users and it has occurred 28 times. So this means that this is a really nitpicking issue that we should solve. So this way we can manage, like suppose some user is facing an issue and a lot of users are facing the same issue, so we can tackle them through this. Second image depicts the event reporting stats. This event reporting is basically whatever user does inside the application. Like suppose there's a user journey where a user particularly logs into our app and opens the profile page, then goes on to the home page, and then goes on to the question player. So what happens is the open profile is logged, the open home is logged, and then the question player is logged, wherein we get to know the question ID which the user played and the skill IDs related to that question. Next slide, please. So the final outcome of my project is we'll have analytical tracking of both online and offline users, resulting in more accurate user journey statistics. Second is setting up of a crash reporting system, which collects crashes even when the device is offline and then reports them when the network connectivity is regained. Third is the creation of a dashboard that reflects the overall analytics of the Oppia Android application. Now, the utility of these things is basically we get to know our markets. Like suppose we don't know how things are when there is no internet connectivity. So by doing this, we get the analytical data and we get to know if we are matching their needs or not. Second major objective of this is we get to know how a new feature is performing. Like suppose we incorporate a new feature, we can get to know how well the users are taking it or if they're liking it or not. Third most thing is which exploration or which topic is being liked by the users. This way we can produce more quality content and we can get more users and have a better reach. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sarthak. This will definitely help us in debugging and finding what the issues for the users are. So that ends the presentation for our 12 GSoC students. Now we'll move on to Q&A. So if you want, you can scan the QR code in the banner or go to the link to ask questions. So, okay, the questions are, first question, what's ARIA and what are the best practices for accessibility? I think this is for Jim.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. So ARIA, basic. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay.
Yeah.
So ARIA stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications, and it's basically just a basically where you can define roles and attributes for various HTML elements to make web content and applications like more accessible to people with disabilities. So one thing I notice is a lot of times we define certain things as like a role equals button, but the problem is that it doesn't really explain anything about it beyond button. So we can add RARIA labels, which can basically explain what they are to people using screen readers. Because when the screen reader goes over the button, it'll just say button, and then they don't know what the button does. So with an ARIA label, you can explain what the button does. And best practices for accessibility. I'd say the key thing about accessibility is, well, it's tough to really pin down the exact best practices, but we can do things to help. So, for example, once Lighthouse gets fully integrated in the system, you can start to notice any errors you're making as you edit or create new web pages, and they'll tell you the reasons why you should do that. Like, for example, whenever you create an image, it should always have an alternative attribute to it, so that people, when they can't actually see the image themselves, they can have a description of it, and they won't have to listen to maybe the image like data, which is like image underscore 189764 or something like that, with the alt attribute. You can stop that. And there's actually a whole list of about 20 best practices in the Lighthouse checks that you can look up on. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. So the next question is again to Jim. What is legibility?
Oh, legibility is just like how readable, like how easy it is to read something or understand something. So in this specific case, I'm talking about text, where sometimes colors might be too light compared to the background, and it's hard to read for people with low vision or have some trouble seeing things. So what I'm doing a lot is Lighthouse will flag cases where the text is hard to read, and then I just need to increase the contrast of that specific text or the background to make it easier for people with low vision to read.
Okay, thanks for that. So next, okay, next two questions are for Prayush regarding the on-screen keyboard.
Okay, hi. So for the first question, the thing is, we do use a third-party library for the math editor itself, and the math editor also provides an on-screen keyboard. But the thing is, it's not very customizable, and it's not very user-friendly. So currently, the keyboard that I'm implementing, I'm writing from scratch. So yeah, it won't be using any third-party libraries. And the next question, I don't know what you mean by soft keyboard. Is that the default keyboard that the mobile gives? If so, yeah, I won't be using the default keyboard. So basically, it will be a grid of buttons, and there will be different tabs. So yes, I will be hiding the soft keyboard and using this grid of buttons and using it as a keyboard. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does.
Thanks.
So the next is to Pulkit.
Yeah, so Rishabh, yeah, so I didn't like print it out. Like this would be like too difficult for me. Even my mentor Ben, he didn't thought of it like it would be so challenging. Currently I'm adding a accessibility use case into the web platform as well, and that wasn't part of my original proposal. And there's a lot of things which I didn't thought of it, and like we took a lot of time. Sean have been doing a lot. Sean have been having a lot of discussion regarding these things, because like these things has to be that has to be done in future across the platforms. Like the changes which are doing on Android would be change will be shifted to replicated to web platform as well. So there have been like a lot of discussion, and I remember the discussion about the drag and drop interaction took about like 2 months. Like there was an on-off discussion between the designer that we have. I guess you know her. And Sean and Ben have a lot of discussion these things. So yeah, it like I didn't predict this this would be so difficult, but I guess I would be able to complete it by I'm able to complete it by now. I would be able to complete it by the end of the milestone 3 as well. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. So the next two questions are for Rohit.
So, did I use any library for SVG editor? Yes. Initially, I tried using literally Canvas, which provides a direct plugin, just like plug and play kind of stuff for the editor, but it is currently not actually supported. So I switched over to Fabric.js. So that's the library that I'm currently using, but it doesn't provide a plug and play editor, and the editor is I created from scratch. Yeah. So the next question is, will the SVG editor be mobile friendly? Yes, the main aim of one of the main aims of the project is to enable help that the SVG editor is mobile friendly, and this Fabric.js editor is mobile friendly. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. So the next two questions are for Rishabh. Okay, actually one question.
So what was more difficult, functionality or replicating the design mocks? So functionality hands down is a lot more difficult, because all the pagination thing and all the features and even the entity box that might look simple, I had to do a lot of backend changes for that, so that I get the count of how many skills this topic has or how many subtopics. Stuff like that. So functionality is a lot more difficult than replicating the design mocks. So replicating the design mocks is basically like arranging stuff as in the mocks, but getting the stuff that is required, it is more difficult and looks like a lot of work. Yeah, it is a lot of work, and a lot of work I have not put in the presentations. Otherwise, it would get a bit too big. Like I have not provided all the features that I created, and I've also not included the mobile mocks or the responsive screenshots. So yeah, lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. So next question is to Anshul. Can you speed up backend tests too?
No, we can't speed up the backend test right now because we are already using semaphores, and semaphores are the best for running processes in parallel and is fastest. So we don't have anything which is more faster than this semaphore. So thanks. That's all.
Okay. So next question is to Mariana. What do you mean by time zone?
Yeah, time zone was one of the last problems we had on front-end unit tests. And this problem happens when we are testing date methods. So sometimes they can fail because how can I explain this? But actually, I think it can happen because the day can change. So I think, yeah, I'm sorry about that, but it's one of the tricky issues we had when testing unit tests because depends on the developer machine. It's not something on prod. It's totally on current time zone of the developer.
Okay. So yeah, it might be an issue, a discrepancy between the two different time zones, I think. Okay. So the next question is to Abhith about LaTeX formats.
Yeah, am I audible? So yeah, how the math regex work is like it actually stores a latex value. Right now, what it does is it stores a latex value, and whenever the front-end page encounters a latex editor, latex value, it passes it to the Madjax, and Madjax renders the SVG or any form of data, however it renders it. So what I did was adding a file name of the corresponding SVG to the math regex component. So whenever the latex value is encountered, we'll fetch the file name from the backend and display it. It's not, we don't store the entire image with the equation. That's the biggest thing here. So we just save a reference to the equation, image stored, and we fetch it from the backend, or cache it before the expression loads and display it like other images. That's what we do. It's going to be similar to how we display the normal Oppia non-interactive images. We store a file name, then we fetch it from the backend, and we're going to display it. That's what it do. We don't store the entire SVGs. That's the thing. So is it clear?
Yeah, I think it should be clear. If there's a follow-up question, you can ask in the slider.
Yeah.
So next question is for Rishabh.
So did you use any online tool to so no, I have not used any online tool. We have Bootstrap in our code base, and I used some components of it, like card and stuff. But majority of the work that I did is basically pure CSS, so Flexbox and all. So you can count that as creating them from scratch.
Yeah, thank you. So the last question we have right now is for Sarthak.
Yeah. So is it possible to have some kind of analytics support for web? Yes, it is possible to have some kind of analytics support for web. I'm not too sure about web, but yeah, we can implement, I think, service workers to capture things when the users lose connection and then upload them when the user revisit the Oppia web page. Yeah, I think that answers it.
Yeah, so that's all the questions we have for now. Ankita, are there any other questions in the YouTube chat?
No, there are no questions on the YouTube chat. Like there's just feedback from Nitesh, Sandeep, and Vinita, but no specific questions.
Okay. So I think we can maybe wait a couple of minutes to see if there are any more questions, or else we can close.
Sure.
Hello. I think I actually answered my question a little wrong. So can I repeat that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. So actually, just for rendering the, can you just go back to the question, or should I say it right now?
You can say the question and then.
Yeah, the question was that why do we still store the latex value for each math component? So for actual rendering, we do not need the latex value, but in the editor page, we actually need the latex value. For example, if someone wants to edit that equation, we fetch that latex value, change it, and then regenerate the image again and save it back. That's what the main use is. So in the creator dashboard, it's going to be useful. Not in the learner pages. So that's the main use here. So thank you. That's it.
can wait 2 more minutes, and then if there are no questions, we can.
I think there are some questions on the YouTube chat.
Oh, what are they?
I think there's a recent question like from Apurv. How is the Oppiabot working now? James, this one's for you.
So I didn't get the question.
The question is, how is the Oppiabot working now?
Yeah, so Oppiabot is doing lots of things right now. Checking issues, making sure that the right labels are added to issues, and lots of things in the pull request. If you checked my talks, I mentioned a lot about that. So maybe if you were more specific in the question, I would give a direct answer. But the question was broad, so it would need have me going back to all my old talks.
I think it's a general kind of question just to know, like Apurva has been away for Oppiabot from a long time. So, okay, so like this is for all the students. So are you all having fun? Is there anything fun you would like to share? Is no one having fun?
I'm having fun actually, but not so much.
That's good. You all can share any interesting experiences if you have. And like, let us speak up, not on chat.
I would like to say a few words recently my mentor I have a lot of straight chart thing, not something related to work, something like a general thing, something general like something how should you work and how should you communicate and stuff like that. So I do really like that thing, other than things like just doing coding and just leaving your PR. The mentors are really helpful here, and like we do like they do help you in the other thing as well, not just I would say your GSoC project. I really like the part. I don't know I don't know about the other GSoC student, but at least up till now my experience with the Oppia team has been really great, and I love the mentors. The thing I only like about the Oppia in the whole is the mentors, is the mentor itself.
Yeah, I will also agree with that. Like the mentors and the whole community is. Oh, sorry. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say, I also agree with Pulkit a lot. Like the community is very helpful, and like they talk in general about not only coding and how you should do how are the best practices in general and many things, how to organize your work. Like we follow this principle of having a design doc for anything which is major, and that kind of things help me a lot for this in general. Like as a developer, more than just having GSoC. Like, and the mentors also very helpful. Like they share you. They share you with their previous experiences and help you with overcoming difficulties much easier. And so in general, people are very helpful here. So that's one benefit I found. It's very good in that way. Yeah.
One fun fact I can share is that every time that I get a ping at Hangouts, I get scared. Oh shit! I introduced another bug.
Oh, that happens with everyone. Happens with me too.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
Okay, I think there is
So
something
don't get
I want to
scared.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I have learned a lot here, especially the meeting notes. The way that we are organizing the meeting is really helpful, and I have used this way in my graduation project. So this year is the final year for me. So we are taking a graduation project, and I'm responsible for organizing the meeting, which I did here at Oppia.
Great. And why are you always afraid?
Okay, because when I find something difficult, I start to think, oh my God, I'm going to fail. I want to be able to do it. And once you do it, it's okay. Everything changes. Yeah, we can do it. Let's finish this.
Yeah, Mohammed and I had a long conversations about this, how afraid we were and how we can do it, and we can do it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think everyone experiences that at some point, right? But I think you all are doing great. So nothing to be afraid about. I think we have covered up all the questions, so we can call it a wrap.
Yeah, so I think then that's it. So this is the feedback form. You can fill this to give us feedback on how the lightning talks went and any places to improve. So this form is the link is also there in the video description, so you can fill it there. So you can fill it there. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for attending, and thanks for listening and asking all the questions for all the GSoC projects, and we are good to know that all of you are having a fun time here. So thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I thought we were to have a group photo or something.